that part was factual.
All right, hello everybody. Welcome to a Lawton Standard all hands meeting, company-wide meeting. Alex Lawton, Barry Adamski. This is the June 2021 version. You can see we're going to talk a little bit about safety, give you some miscellaneous updates, touch on our financial results, do a little site-specific updates, and then a pretty big top-of-mind item. All right, safety note for this one. It's summer, it's hot, at least in Wisconsin. Michigan, it's extraordinarily hot, unusually so. Look out for heat exhaustion, especially look out for heat stroke. You can see the symptoms and whatnot that are on here and what you need to do if those were to set in. Take your time, get some air, lots of fluids. Do not succumb to heat exhaustion or especially heat stroke, please. All right, miscellaneous updates. Houston Steel Foundry, people have been curious about that. Yes, we are kicking the tires on a steel foundry in Houston. We think it would fit in a nice hole we have in our offerings for the marketplace. We were not out searching for acquisitions at this time. We've been trying to focus on building the company we have. It sort of found us, but it's an opportunity. It knocked on the door, and we're going through the process. Green Tier 2, pretty important credentialing that CA Lawton in De Pere earned from the state of Wisconsin. First foundry into that program, one of the only companies into that program. We were the first foundry into the Green Tier 1 most of 10 years ago. This opens the door to a new type of operating permit that's much better and easier for the company, and some other things. So excited about that designation. We've got our first leadership summit, right, for Lawton Standard coming up, kind of a mid-year thing. We're going to do it in July. A lot of us will be coming together in the Detroit area to get through that, more on it leading up to it and coming, but pretty excited about some of the deliverables we've got set for that. Cultural improvement teams. Huge initiative in the sense that trying to improve culture, trying to improve the mood, trying to improve the how do I feel about work, how would I feel at work, building some relationships and trying to mix in a little bit of fun. Some more on some of those activities coming up, but there's been some pretty neat ones. Barry will touch on as we go through. And lastly, the one thing, right? If we go back a couple months in leadership, we tried to say, what is the one most important thing to do here, right? Our main job is to add value to the business. The biggest way we think we can do that is to improve our capacity, and the mass majority of that is the people capacity. So we spent a lot of time. There was a Kaizen kicking off a project and a ton of activity. Since then, onboarding, retaining, training, buddy systems, you're hearing already, and I'll hear more about this. The whole thing is, how do we get our capacity up? We need to get more people in here. That's direct labor, that's otherwise. We need to retain the people we have. There's nothing better we can do for our employees than to get more reinforcements. Nothing better we can do for the company in terms of getting capacity up and making some more money. Nothing better we can do in terms of being able to take better care of customers who are asking for more than we're able to provide. So when we talk about the one thing, that's probably been as consuming as anything for a while.
Alrighty, net sales, shipments. So what we have is a budget that was planned, and that budget we went to all interested parties on the banking and investors and everything like that. And this is what we promised at the beginning of the year. Anytime you can do what you said you would do, it's a very positive thing. So all those interested parties are likely going to be happy with what we said we are actually doing. In these particularly unprecedented times, that's amazing, frankly. Last year, however, was better, which we know last year it had its stuff, but overall, and then in particular, De Pere's down a little bit, but and Temperform's down a little bit. You can see Minster is pretty substantially up, as well as Penmar is up. So overall, things are looking pretty good on the net sales. We recognize it's been a heck of a struggle, so sincerely thank you, all of you that have helped to, I guess, get the beer out the door. So thank you.
But
EBITDA, the metric that we are judged by as far as at the end of the day, if there's a banker who is not all that interested in the details, this is the number they're going to look at. So we planned for an 8% budget at this point in the year. Our actual is 13%. Again, from a standpoint of how we're living in the world that we live in, that is spectacular. So good job, everyone. We are winning on the financial through the year so far, actual. And as you can see, we are beating budget. That is fantastic. All right, current backlog. You can see the backlog there, and we do have it compared to 6/30 of 20, and then we've been doing that along the way. And you can see the iron group where we were. You can see where we are now. You can see on the steel side we're up also, and you will see or notice that that blank there is Damascus. There's no operations happening there. All of that has become a department of Temperform, and we're in the process of working through the details there. So total platform wise, you can see it's well over doubling, and again, nothing but good news there.
all right, we'll go take a walk around the platform. Temperform, cornhole winners, right? They had a pretty extensive cornhole tournament, brackets, rounds, and everything else. Seemed to be a pretty good time there. And kudos to Ken and Brandon, and too bad Matt and Gretchen. You'll enjoy that picture and commentary. 80% of the equipment installed. So going back a number of months, you might remember we put a turnaround team in place. Temperform needed a lot of love and help as we rolled from 2020 to 21. A lot of what was identified was catch up and or improvement, equipment investments, and I think of what was on that list, about 80% is now through. And you see it in what's on the next bullet there, right, in line 1 production improvements. If you look at the quantity and the cadence and whatnot of molds that are coming off line 1, the main line at Temperform, they're running, I think, as well as they ever have with that. That is not all the equipment, right? There's been a ton of work on the people and supervision and process and other sides, but frankly, that had no chance of working if we didn't start to get the equipment sorted out. We still got a ways to go, right? We gotta make our furnaces and sand and everything more robust, but man, Temperform coming a long way. All right, in De Pere, maintenance team. Maintenance has gone through a lot of changes in the last 6 months. Couple of longer time guys here stepped up into some real nice supervision roles. We were able to hire a planner, able to hire a kind of facilities manager, Lloyd, who's doing some of that and some other things, starting to make some hires on the hourly side, and pretty encouraged about where maintenance is at today and where it seems like it's going to be over the next number of months compared to where it came from, say, early in the year. Quite a grind in De Pere. Dojo reboot. We mentioned earlier, getting people hired, trained, retained, about as important as it gets. De Pere had a model that we were liking a couple of years ago when we were hiring a lot of people for the recession and the pandemic. We said a couple of months ago we're going to get that rebooted, and we have, in terms of who's staffing it, getting new hires into it, and so on. Pretty exciting. And then standard work initiative, right? We are on a blitz for standard work across the company. This is mainly work instructions and other type process documents. Even a standard work for standard work, which might sound silly. The thought is, okay, what does it mean at Lawton Standard, right? If we say work instruction, if we say routing, etc., and then make sure that we get that cascaded correctly. The reason it's on De Pere's slide here is they are the beta test guinea pig, whatever you want to call it, for that initiative.
All right, at Minster, of all the foundries, it is the best, the very best year-over-year growth. They're doing a spectacular job. All that entire gang down there is doing a good job serving the customer. Of course, we have some issues, but I'll say in the big picture of things, they're rocking it real well. Jordan Thuma has been promoted to cleaning room supervisor. Congratulations, Jordan. And we look forward to that contributing pretty significantly, because WIP right now is right at this moment the biggest issue. So the other one is we played the lottery, and the good news is they won the grand prize, so they get ERP implementation first. And yes, that was sarcasm. And but bottom line is we are implementing it there. We have a hard stop as far as a certain amount of time with regards to NEDEC, as far as the separation of the entity that we carved out, and we will be doing that there. It is it's like a death steel cage death match, and it's going to be painful, but we know that all ERPs are like that. So that is happening at Minster. PMC, it is the month of training, and just some examples are safety, OSHA compliance, problem solving, root cause corrective action, as well as proper rollout of good catches.
All right, top of mind, mentioned at the kickoff, we kind of had a big one. Some of you have heard Barry talk about this recently, me a little bit at other times, including some recordings such as this, right? But if you ask the question, are we winning or losing? Right? You can tie back to the earlier slide on profitability, right? We're running ahead of profit. You know, is there government aid and other things that are kind of temporary in that? Sure, but are we managing with the hand? Are we playing the hand we're dealt, and are we playing it well relative to our competitors and other things that are going on in the world? And I think Barry's got a pretty organized list he's going to tick through here to try and answer that. But I think it's a really important question, because for me, I feel like there's way too many people that while they're here, when they drive out of here and go home at the end of the day or night, are feeling like they're losing. And sure, there's some things going wrong, and sure, we got areas we got to shore up and fix and aren't where we want to be on. But net, if you add it all up, we are winning on a net basis way more than we're losing. And hopefully we can expound on that a little bit, Barry.
Yeah. So many of us now feel at times like we're at the bottom of a hole and feel like there's no escape. Reality is there is. To set the backdrop, just so we all remind ourselves of where we are and maybe why we are where we are psychologically. I'm going to just use some words in sequence. CDC, NIH, COVID, Fauci, Trump, Biden, election reform, Republican, Democrat, vaccine, anti-vaccine. All those things are a part of our collective twist in our head. And all of those things are contributing to us feeling like we're losing, like us having anxiousness. So we're much more sensitive to the problems. So how do you know if you're winning or losing? That's a question that came up the other day from a supervisor, actually a trainer, well, actually a special projects person, with regards to a couple of people on the floor saying, I feel like I'm losing every single day. And one of the questions, or one of the responses, or this response back was, how do you actually know if you're winning or losing? And I'm going to try to answer that. So first off, safety. You are absolutely winning if you are thinking, acting, and being safe for yourself and for the people around you, and most importantly for all of our loved ones, because you know that's the stuff of life. The other one is if you're following all the safety protocols, you're following the process that keeps you safe. That is winning. That is winning on a daily basis. The other one is doing good catches, because if you're doing good catches, again, you're preventing accidents, which is winning. That's exactly what we need more of. On the quality side of things, follow the process. If you follow the standard work, no matter what happens, you follow the standard work, follow that process, the work instructions, you are absolutely winning. We need more of that. If you're not sure about the process, ask a trainer. If you're not sure, ask a supervisor. If you're not certain, Ask an engineer. You can't always trust wayward engineers, but generally they know what they're doing as far as suggesting here's how the process should be followed. The other part of that is, and in the day one, hour one that we have talked about, many of you have gone through, being honest, telling the truth is winning. Being kind, treating another person, because that twist I talked about with that number of words, we're all feeling it. We all feel that right now, and we're acknowledging that's a reality of our current world. So being kind to our fellow human beings, this is a great time to practice that, because we're all carrying a heavy load. And lastly, achieving results. And so part of that is defining the results, and that's part of the reason for this discussion. So on the other hand, how are we definitely losing? If we're taking shortcuts and we're creating safety issues, that's a losing behavior. If we are not trying to prevent accidents, that is a losing behavior. We have to do that. That's part of our obligation to be a part of this community, a part of the Lawton Standard. So same thing on the quality side. If you're choosing because instead of 6 people in the core room, you only have 2 people in the core room, so I'm going to just skip these steps and not follow the process, that's losing. Okay? Hopefully I did that the right way. Yeah, okay. No, I didn't. Anyway, bottom line is skipping steps because we don't have enough people is unacceptable and not okay. It is a losing behavior. So we recognize things are hard right now. We recognize there's a twist in everybody's mind in the United States, probably in the entire world, would be my guess. Things will change. We are working to crawl our way out of the bottom of that hole. And we have to look up, and we have to do it with some diligence. Besides everything I've just mentioned, here are some positives. ERP is proceeding harmonization. This is actually a very big deal long term, although a lot of people are feeling all the pain right now. Again, this is bottom of the hole, looking up, going, how the heck are we going to get there? We get it, and we're going to get there. Back orders, we have 3 months or more at every location. This is fantastic relative to job shopping foundries. This is actually a pretty decent backlog. We are making a little money, as you saw. Okay, this is good news. So in spite of the backdrop, again, of all the world the way it is, we are getting by. We are doing some good things. Temperform is performing better and better. They made a little bit of money last month, and they're doing well. It's no longer that any of the sites, at least for last month, have lost money. We're doing okay. Customers actually have been more than fairly, they've been very understanding. They, of course, initially say that's unacceptable, and then they come back and go, yeah, we have the same problems you do. So we haven't seen a mass exodus of customers due to some delivery difficulties and or quality of all the difficulties we're having. Again, we know this isn't normal. Okay, we know we're better than this, but considering what we're dealing with today, we're doing well. The other one is we are actually having more fun events and breaking bread. We have had a grill out. We've done the cornhole tournament, as you've seen. There's been a Taco Tuesday. Either there has been or will be a Wing Wednesday. And we are already planning Christmas parties so that we can, again, be more family, have more fun as a group. Okay, so all those things are happening. So we have to remember that we are getting out of that hole that I mentioned earlier. We are crawling up right now. We are working, and it's hard work, and we recognize that. But once we're at the top, okay, we're going to look down and be proud and know that we've achieved, and we'll look back at those bloody claw prints and say, damn it, we did this. So thank you. I do appreciate your diligence on that. So lastly, I'm going to leave you, at least for me, some words of wisdom, basically coming from Stoicism, but it was turned into a prayer. And the prayer, or halfway through the prayer, it says, accept the things you cannot change. You can't change CDC, you can't change anti-vax or vax, you can't change that. Have the courage to change the things you can. And that's the focus of this. Can we do good catches? Yeah. Can we do all the things we need to do and create standard work to set up supervisors and trainers to be successful? Yes. we have to have the courage to keep going. That's where we are. And of course, the last line, the wisdom to know the difference. So that's all of us. That's the purpose of this, is to say, please think it through. What do you have control of? What don't you have control of? Focus on the control part, because that's where we can actually have a positive effect. Thanks.
Well put, Barry. Appreciate that. I think talking to each other for a second, we both shared stories recently of businesses we were at that seemed to have overwhelmed employees, a lot of angst in the air, people trying to run departments with 3 people that should have 6, and so on. So there's a lot of this going on out there, and so much of it gets back to, are we winning or losing, right? And what are those targets in a business sense, where you have business targets, and then in the soft sense, right, what should it feel like? And what we want so much, or spend so much time trying to figure out and get right, is how do we get this company to the point where most days you guys are, and ladies, are driving home feeling good about the work you do, about the team you're on, about the company you work for, and what it's trying to do in its space, right? Its local community, its marketplace, etc. It sure feels a lot of days like we're really, really far from that, but on a lot of measures, I don't know that we are. We're probably talking about months and quarters versus years and years to get to a better feeling. And we'll keep trying to do a better job of not just making sure that we don't add things to try and let people settle and focus, and or even pulling things off, but to actually try and get more focused on these 3. You have 2, right? And you've heard us talk about this before. There's a whirlwind, right? It sucks us all up, and that's the normal. Get in order, fill in order, repeat my day. The other stuff, we will try and keep it as even more focused than we have so far, as a part of doing that. But at the end of the day, we gotta feel better about the job we're doing, because we actually deserve to. We're not failing. Us to you, please provide the feedback. I think the next slide will take us down that path. There it is. Questions and feedback. We'll take both, right? And the best, obviously, if you see either one of us or anyone else in leadership, but Dana and De Pere, Shirley and Minster, Gretchen at Temperform, and Marianne or Diane at Penmar, please get them questions. We'll keep rolling those up and getting them out in ways that we have been. And feedback, right, on what's going to make this feel better, what's going to help make this company work better, etc. That's it, I think, for today. So thank you for your time and attention, and I believe you'll be talking with your site manager about some things when this video is over. Thanks, Barry.